science. So, you're after a family SUV that is sustainable and future-proof, but you want something a bit sporty that doesn't make you look like you've given up on life. Ford may have the answer with this, the brand new Ford Kuga ST-Line X plug-in hybrid. Long-term viewers may remember that many moons ago I tested the previous Kuga ST-Line, and my word, has a lot changed since then. The new model is less aggressive and more rounded in its looks, and whilst I wouldn't call it ugly, I do actually prefer the old model. But hey, styling is and always will be subjective. One thing that isn't subjective is the size. The new car, as you would expect, is bigger. It has a longer wheelbase and a larger footprint on the road, meaning it should make for better stability. There's also more room inside as well. Speaking of space, let me see how I fit in the rear seats. As always, the driver's seat has been set for me. I'm 6'2", so I am of course a taller chap. Even so, the space I have left over is pretty ample. I've got a good amount of knee room and plenty of leg room. I can even fit my feet underneath the driver's seat, meaning I can stretch out and relax. Oh, speaking of stretching out and relaxing, the rear seats recline. Ah, very nice indeed. The rear seats also slide forwards and backwards to give you better versatility. Now, could you fit 3 adults in the back of the Kuga? I think it may be too much of a squeeze, but there's a good chance you're more concerned about carrying children. Therefore, it goes without saying that there are ISOFIX points. Now, how easy is it to get a baby seat or a child seat into the car? Well, Mrs. Car Obsession did it yesterday, and she said it was pretty easy, so a thumbs up there. In regard to practicality, the door bins aren't massive, but you can fit in a small bottle, that is 500 millilitres. There are map pockets either side, hooks either side, and in the middle you've got a centre armrest for better comfort, and in there you've got 2 cup holders. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned at this point is headroom. I haven't got loads left over, but when you bear in mind this car, the ST-Line X, as standard, comes with a panoramic roof, I think that is pretty decent. Quite often, pano roofs can rob you of headroom, and tall people like me have to suffer. But in the Kuga, yeah, it is pretty agreeable. In the rear, you've also got ventilation, 2 USB ports, a Type A and a Type C, and get this, heated seats. So those sitting in the outer seats will get a nice warm bum. Those in the middle won't. So yeah, unlucky. One last thing I'd like to say about the rear is the opening of the rear doors, I think, could be a bit wider. It isn't the widest entrance or exit, and for some it may be a little bit ungraceful getting in or out, especially when your jeans are falling down. That doesn't help. Although getting a child seat in is quite easy. Right, let's go for a drive. This has a 2.5 litre petrol engine, which is of course backed up by an electric motor, which feeds its power from a 14.4 kilowatt hour battery. In regard to charging times, if you use a 7 kilowatt charger, you're looking at 3 to 3.5 hours, but if you use a traditional 3-pin socket, you're looking at 6 to 6.5 hours. The engine and the electric motor combined offer 225 horsepower. In regard to performance, this will hit 62 miles per hour in 9.2 seconds, and the top speed is 125. I'm sure you're more bothered about economy though. So Ford claims that this can achieve up to, get this, just over 201 miles to the gallon. Now, of course, that is factoring in the electric motor. I have 5 drive modes at my disposal. So I've got a button down here. I have normal, eco, sport, slippery, or snow/sand assist. I've spent most of my week in normal because as much as this car is the ST-Line X edition and it is therefore a sportier car, to drive it isn't that sporty. Although the ride is quite firm, the ride is sporty, that is for certain. As standard you do get sport suspension, therefore you will get a firmer setup compared to, let's say, a titanium Kuga or the range-topping Vignale. This car, as an option, has got the 20-inch alloys, which do no favours for the ride. To be honest, down this road at 44 miles per hour, I know that is rather precise, the ride is actually fine. But when you're going around town or when you're driving at low speeds, the ride is firm and quite jiggly as well as busy. One advantage of the sports suspension is the handling. This may be a high-riding, mid-sized SUV, but don't think for a second that this can't be fun. It is quite an enjoyable car to thread through the corners. The steering is well weighted, particularly in sports mode, but I do find the weighting of the steering feels a little bit artificial, and at first you may need a bit of time to get used to it because it is quite direct, more direct than you may expect from a family SUV. It is good for cornering. All you really need to do is simply flick your wrists and the car is ready to change direction. But it does feel a little bit disconcerting in a vehicle of this size. However, like I said, you do get used to it pretty quickly. The only other thing I'd like to say about the steering is that it is a little bit keen to self-centre, so it does feel a bit unusual in the hands. But that aside, yes, in the corners, the Kuga is pretty entertaining. So if you want a family SUV that knows how to tackle a corner, take a look at the Kuga. Not only is the Ford Kuga pretty good in the corners, but it is quite nippy as well. I wouldn't go so far to call it fast, but to be fair, this hasn't been designed to be fast. It has been designed to be economical, which it is. The 2.5 litre engine does work pretty well, but it is, I'm not going to say hindered because I think that is the wrong word, but it can be quite noisy and drony because it is mated to a CVT. Regular viewers will know that I'm not a massive fan of a CVT, but to be fair, in this car it isn't too bad. But one of the drawbacks of a CVT is you kick down on the accelerator, you get lots of engine revs before anything happens. Now, the best way to cure that is to simply change your style of driving. You need to work with the CVT. Be patient with it. Once again, it's time for Ask Aaron, the segment in which you guys get to ask me questions about whichever car I'm testing. So not too many questions, but hopefully this should be quite short and sweet. YouTube user Will Walsh asks, is the Duratec as punchy as it sounds? Yes, it is quite a responsive unit. The only downside, it is mated to a CVT. Therefore, when you kick down on the accelerator, the engine is quite drony. But that aside, yes, this is quite a punchy engine. YouTube user Mr. G-GHX, catchy name, I like it, asks, big spec with big price. All looks good on paper, but is it good enough? Well, a few people have said that this is quite a pricey car, but I would disagree. If you were to compare it to similar vehicles at a similar specification, this car is actually pretty much on the money. So yes, it may seem expensive on paper, but don't forget you are paying extra for the hybrid platform, and this does come with a lot of kit. So is it good enough? Yes, I'd say it is. And oh no, two more questions. Instagram user Well Driven asks, what's the electric only range like in the real world? Well, I've done a separate video on that, so be sure to check it out. But spoiler alert, it is pretty good. And the last question, Instagram user Pit Motoring TV asks, what is the boot space for family associated paraphernalia, pram / pushchair, etc.? Well, the boot isn't the biggest, but can you fit a pushchair in? Well, let's find out. And there we go, there's Ask Aaron done and dusted for another time. Time to talk practical. Getting access to the boot is easy as the ST-Line X comes with a hands-free power tailgate as standard. Once the tailgate is opened, you'll get access to 412 litres, which is 114 less compared to other Kugas. The boot space in the PHEV can be extended to 1,481 litres by folding down the 60/40 rear seats, which is achieved in seconds by pulling the lever either side. The front offers a good amount of practicality, and getting a good driving position is easy as the steering wheel offers plenty of adjustment and the driver's seat is electronically adjustable as standard. Cubby holes include door bins big enough to swallow a 1 litre bottle, 3 cup holders in the middle, sunglasses holder, a decent sized glove box, plus a few other cubbies dotted here and there. The Kuga PHEV starts from £36,905, which will give you the ST-Line edition, but the model in this video is the ST-Line X edition. With a starting price of £38,005, it offers standard features including 19-inch alloys, panoramic roof, heated front seats, heated steering wheel, heated outer rear seats, ST-Line styling, sport suspension, LED lights, 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, 8-inch Ford Sync 3 system, front and rear parking sensors, reversing camera, climate control, plus more. The model shown here has been sprinkled with a few options though, making it a grand total of £41,505. These include the solar silver paintwork, which is £600, wireless phone charging pad, £150, 20-inch alloys, £1,100, technology pack, £550, and the driver's assistance pack, £1,100. In regard to safety features, the Kuga offers as standard 6 airbags, autonomous emergency braking, hill start assist, lane keep assist and lane departure warning. This was enough to earn it 5 stars from Euro NCAP, but tick the right options and you can get even more safety kit such as adaptive cruise control with traffic sign recognition and blind spot monitoring. As well as 5 drive modes, I've also got 4 ways in which I can use the powertrain. I've got another button down here marked EV, and yes, I have 4 choices. I've got Auto EV, in which the car pretty much does it for itself. You don't need to have any input apart from just simply drive it. Or you've got EV Now. By pushing that, you'll get EV only driving, of which you can do up to 35 miles. And you can drive this up to 85 miles per hour on EV alone. Pretty good, although kind of pointless because the speed limit is, what's that in the road? Oh, crash helmet. Ooh. Hope no one's had a tumble. You can drive this up to 85 miles per hour on EV alone, which does seem a bit of a waste because the national speed limit in the UK is 70. But hey, if you're on the Autobahn, good news. Then you've got EV Later, whereby you save the EV power for a later time. And the last one is EV Charge, in which the car uses the 2.5 litre engine to charge the battery. One great thing about the Kuga is just how easy it is to drive. Stick it in EV Now and all of a sudden your town driving is an absolute breeze. This guy's easy to manoeuvre. Yes, it is quite large, but at no point does it feel like a large car when you're manoeuvring tight spaces. But this car as standard does come with the front and rear parking sensors as well as the reversing camera. This car also as an option has park assist, so if you're a bit of a clumsy parker, it's okay, Ford's got your back. Going back to the 20-inch alloys I mentioned earlier, another drawback is refinement. I do think this car is a bit noisier than I would have expected. It isn't deafening in here, but I definitely feel the need to raise my voice just a few decibels. Granted, this road surface isn't the greatest, but it is quite noisy in here. So my tip, don't go for the 20-inch alloys. Yes, they look fantastic, they do look good, but stick with the 19s. The 20s are too large, they hinder ride comfort, and you get more road noise. To properly test the Refinement, I thought I'd apply a bit of science. So I thought I'd try something a bit different, something I've not done before. I'm going to head out onto the motorway, or not motorway, the A road, 70 miles per hour, and I've got one of these to record how much sound this car is making, because I do believe this car is a little bit on the noisy side. So I'll turn it on, shut up, and see how we get on. Hopefully you can see that. So on the smoother bit of road, which of course generated less noise, I got 70.4 decibels. Then on the worst bit of road, I got 74.8. So yes. Science. To put those numbers into some kind of perspective that makes sense, I did a bit of Googling and the average car produces around 70 decibels. So the Kuga is a little bit louder than usual, although the second part of the test did use a rougher road. But even so, I would still urge you to avoid the 20-inch alloys. So, should you buy the brand new Ford Kuga ST-Line X Edition PHEV? Oh, such a long name. Long name aside, yes, I think you should. It has everything you need from a family SUV, but it also has the sustainability and future-proofness, if that's even a word, that you are looking for on today's market. It has a good level of kit, a good amount of space, it is practical, easy to drive, and it is safe. So it's ticking all the right boxes, and it's fun to drive, which you can't really say about many SUVs, if I'm going to be honest. So yes, all in all, the Ford Kuga ST-Line X Edition PHEV is a very solid car. A massive thank you to Ford UK for loaning me this car, and of course a massive thank you for you guys watching this video. I do hope you have enjoyed it or found it useful. If so, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.